Regardless of how much they eat, these are the people that a lot of us envy. Cry me a river if you have a hard time gaining weight. Today we're talking about fat loss for the different body types: Masomorphs, Endomorphs, and ectomorphs. Hey everyone, it's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service. I'm a food scientist and chemical engineer by training, and today we're talking about fat loss for the different body types. Today I'm talking about how this specifically applies to women and their fat loss goals. So let's get started. Alright, so before we get started, it's important to identify the fact that there are three main body types. And depending on what body type you are, it's going to impact how you gain weight, how you lose weight, and what your body ends up looking like to reach your specific goals. So everyone is born with an inherited skeletal structure and body composition. Now, a lot of nutritionists, trainers, doctors, and other healthcare professionals will actually use this information about your body type or somatotype to be able to help guide you in creating a customized meal plan, training regimen, and adapting these things about your specific body type and shape to help you reach your goals. So let's break down the three body types. Now what you will find is by looking at this chart, we're looking at three body types. There are Masomorphs, Endomorphs, and ectomorphs. And most people may not perfectly fit into one category. You might be a combination of both, but for the most part, you can kind of place yourself primarily in one category to help give us tools and extra things that are going to guide how to support your fitness goals. For example, we're going to start with the case of the endomorph. Very classic case of the endomorph is somebody like a Kim Kardashian body type. Endomorphs tend to have a smooth, round body, large to medium bone structure, small shoulders, and shorter limbs. They tend to carry their weight in the lower abdomen, the hips, the thighs, rather than evenly distributed throughout the body. So endomorphs have a difficult time losing fat with diet alone, so a well-rounded fitness program is important. If you're an endomorph, you cannot be one of those people who can just diet your way to success. The training is going to have a very big impact on your physique if you are an endomorph. So you can't just avoid the gym altogether and just eat salad and sit in a corner. That's just not going to work. They must stay in motion just about every day and fight that urge to completely chill out. So some general characteristics of endomorphs is that they put weight on easily. They have a slow metabolism, and there's a constant struggle to watch their diet to maintain their weight. Their hips tend to be wider than their shoulders. They gain muscle easily, which is a good thing. They do tend to store body fat in the lower abdomen and thighs, and they do have, in general, a lower tolerance for carbohydrate-rich foods. So what should you do if you're an endomorph? Now, I'm going to film a separate video getting very detailed about macro ratios. Here's rules of thumb that works for endomorphs. Lightweight, high-rep workouts, they're effective for toning. If you're an endomorph, you build bulk and muscle easily. You're not going to want to be doing very heavy weight. You certainly can, but it's not going to help make you look leaner by going heavy as an endomorph. Lightweight, high reps works very well. You do want to do consistent high intensity cardio at least 80% of your maximum heart rate. So if you're not monitoring your heart rate and you're an endomorph, you want to start doing that. And you want to at least get that cardio in a minimum of 4 times a week. You do want to time your carbohydrates post-workout because endomorphs store carbs more readily than other body types. You want to make sure you time them so that you're using them at the correct point in time, because if you time your carbohydrates post-workout, when your glycogen is depleted, you are much more likely to have those additional carbs that you're consuming in the day go towards replenishment as opposed to going to be stored as body fat eventually. Endomorphs want to be careful with alcohol. You definitely want to be careful with alcohol. You want to be a little bit on the lower carb spectrum for this body type. Paleo style meal plans do work well. They are particularly effective for endomorphs, and having at least 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal work well for endomorphs. All right, now the next body type that we're going to talk about is the mesomorph. A classic mesomorph is somebody like Janet Jackson. Mesomorphs don't have to worry a whole lot about what they eat because they can gain muscle mass very easily, they can lose weight fairly quickly and with a little bit of effort. This combination allows the mesomorph to achieve fantastic muscle definition overall in the whole body. So, however, as easily as the mesomorph can lose fat, they can go in the opposite direction, meaning that they can gain fat very quickly. Janet Jackson is a great example of someone who has struggled with fluctuating weight. I mean, there's times she's bigger, even though she is a mesomorph. You wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that because just because someone is overweight, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're already automatically an endomorph, which I'll explain in another video, how to tell what body type you are even when you're overweight. But she's a great example of someone who struggled with fluctuating weight, but when she's determined, she can lose weight. She looks great, very defined, and she probably has some of the most amazing abs I've ever seen. So mesomorph characteristics: they tend to store fat evenly, they have flat stomachs, they have the ability to gain muscle quickly, they are naturally muscular and with a medium-sized bone structure, and mesomorphs can easily lose weight and they can easily gain weight. So all that being said, what do you do to support fat loss if you are a mesomorph? These are a few tips that will help with that. So weight training, it should be hard and heavy, but with enough variation to add shape to make sure that you do not bulk. Rest time should be at least 30 seconds to 1 minute between sets. Eliminate alcohol and decrease your starchy carb intake. Little bit on the lower carb is helpful, but in general, there aren't any major challenges for mesomorphs to lose weight. Balanced nutrition, approximately 40% carbs, 40% protein, 20 to 30% fat works for most. You do want to be in a caloric deficit of 500 calories from your diet, from your maintenance, and that's basically all that you need. But I will get into a detailed video about more zoomed in macro approaches for mesomorphs, so you're going to want to tune in for that. Last but not least, we are going to talk about the ectomorph. So a classic ectomorph is somebody like Gwyneth Paltrow. Ectomorphs tend to have a fast metabolism compared to the average person. They do have difficulty gaining weight regardless of how much they eat. These are the people that a lot of us envy. Cry me a river if you have a hard time gaining weight. Do you ever have any of those friends that tell you they can eat and eat and eat and don't get any weight? But unfortunately, that is a challenge for some people, and like anybody else, we should definitely approach this with a strategic, guided approach to help that specific body type. They have a high metabolism, they can't help it, they were born that way. They do tend to be picky eaters with small appetites, and they have most likely been thin their entire lives. This body type does have a small bone structure, narrow shoulders, flat chest, narrow waist, hips, small wrists, skinny ankles, and an overall like a ruler body type. And sometimes, but not always, they do tend to be a little bit on the lanky side. Longer limbs, longer than average muscle belly length, and an inherent capacity for cardiovascular endurance. These are your distance runners, these are your cyclists, people who can just go and go and go and are just naturally have that capacity. If you're an ectomorph, you definitely want to lift heavy. You want to rest longer in between sets. You want to be resting between 2 and 3 minutes, giving yourself enough time to recover so that you have more power to lift again on the next set. You want to eat 5 to 6 times a day, and you want to eat carbs with every meal. So stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to break down macro ratios for ectomorphs depending on your goals. But if you've enjoyed this and you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. I'm doing 3 more videos where I'm going to zoom in on the macro ratios for endomorphs, mesomorphs, and ectomorphs, and depending on whether you're trying to maintain weight, lose weight, or gain weight, I'll explain which direction you should go based off your body type. So stay tuned and take care.